Why Marx and Marxism failed is in itself a problematic question, which can possibly be best answered by a counter question that why should it succeed at all? When we ask that why Marxism, when we ask why Marxism failed, there is an implication that it should have been succeeded. I acknowledge the contribution of Marx and Marxism in so many fields of our existence, and especially the oppositional kind of thinking, resistance, all these that we have in today's world are in a great way indebted to Marxism and its followers. But in spite of that, why it failed and why, more and more the countries all over the world are losing faith in Marxism in spite of this neo-communism and all those things. First thing is that Marxism has two parts. In my analysis, it is also said by other critics, but in a complicated way. Marx or Marxism has basically two parts. That is the main problem. One is the analytical part, and the other is, I would call it, astrological part. Analytical part is how societies came into being, distribution of labor, that social history is history of class struggle. These are, I think, these parts are perfectly fine based on observation and other things, and possibly majority of the arguments that Marx offered in this area are correct. you know People are exploited all over the world. Money or economy is the main things. I totally 90% I agree with it. But the other part is that he predicted, made people believe, and his followers also believe that all these will lead to a great revolution. Workers of the world will unite, and then communism will be established I mean, in all the countries of the world, throughout the world. This part is problematic. This is what I call astrological. Marx himself forgot his role as a rational analyst and he became too optimistic or too idealistic. And the trend is carried on by the Marxists till date, or the communists. The very basic formation, a very basic principle of the formations of social science is that human mind is not chemistry. It's not matter that can be subjected to, you know, the same kind of regimentation ideas, or it will give same result in different experiments. No, the very basic principle of social science is that nothing here is predictable. That is why economic predictions also go wrong, because after all, people's mind, you cannot say that demand of this thing has increased so supply will increase and those kinds of things, because many things may happen just in a moment. So there Marx was mistaken in assuming people all over the world, as having the same kind of mindset, some capitalist and some working class, and one group will revolt against that. He could not, or rather did not, because he was a far greater scholar than many of us, and of course than myself, but he, for some reasons, his personal inclination, he did not want to believe in the problem or of individuality of the human mind. I wish he had Shakespeare's insight. Now, so that is why Shakespeare said in Julius Caesar, Roman citizens, short memories, it is true about all citizens. So that is the precise point where Marxism and its followers went wrong and are still going wrong. The moment you say that communism or establishment of communism is the logical end of human existence, then you become as good as or as bad as an astrologer. Human history doesn't move like that. There is no telos fixed by it. So there, in spite of his claims to scientific socialism, became unscientific. The second part, and the more problematic part, which Marxists do not tell, even great critics like Terry Eggleton and all are often silent, Because I'm interested to teach the Marxism part in PhD coursework, and also in MA I teach so many things, but it is my duty also to point this side out to the students. We are academicians and we should be neutral, not for any party, not against any party, but objective engagement. Then only society will progress. Anyway, the other important part is, based on their idea that communism will come, there was in any communist rule, there is always a tremendous rule. In a communist rule, there is a tremendous, homogenization of people. And if you don't follow that thing, murder, finally. Mass murders have taken place in communist regimes. It is estimated that the killing of humans in Soviet Russia, for example, during the entire communist regime from at least 1917 to 1987, was more or less 60 million. 60 million people were killed in the name or caused to be killed for the sake of communism. So the same thing happened in China, though the number will be a little less. People have estimated from anywhere between 10 to 20 million. I'll give links, you check. And not only that, now we come to the not only human beings, they started killing birds, beasts, animals also, especially in China. So Mao Zedong, the great leader, thought that China was not progressing because of certain things, and one of the major things were these pests, rats, etc. There were famine for some time. Then he decided that all this should be killed, and sparrows are so important. And all the Chinese started killing the sparrows. They will, beat drums, make sounds, then sparrows, so much so that sparrows will leave their nests and will keep moving around like the wind over and fall and die, or they will be shot and made to die. Nests were destroyed. We cannot exactly count it, but approximately 600 million sparrows were killed. It's wanton killing. For killing of one albatross, Coleridge wrote that rhyme of the ancient mariner. Now, how do you account for the 600 sparrows killing? And this is totally spurious science. He thought that sparrows eating rice or paddy were causing famine. But after the sparrows went, the situation became far worse. Pests and other things were eating up, and there were greater famine. So finally, they had to imbibe sparrows from other parts. This is 1958. You Google the killing of sparrows in China, you will get everything. So it's so detrimental to nature, great crime against nature. So it is also totally anthropocentric, doesn't take into account other things. Now variations are coming, Marxist eco-criticism and all that, but these are later additions. So basically it is anthropocentric and homogenizing. So Tagore went to Russia, invited by the Supremo, the then Supremo. He liked certain things, the equality and other parts, but he wrote in his letters from Russia that there will be a great danger to these people someday, because they have tried to make education system, a fixed formula kind of thing, and that doesn't produce humanity. I remember the Bangla lines, শিক্ষা বিধি দিয়ে এরা ছাঁচ বানিয়েছে, ছাঁচে ঢালা কিন্তু ছাঁচে ঢালা মনুষ্যত্ব টেকে না, এর জন্য একদিন এদের ভয়ঙ্কর বিপদ ঘটবে. Wrote like that, Tagore. So what he said has come true. That way he was a greater prophet than Marx. And another, of course, there are people like Karl Popper or Fukuyama, all of them, they pointed out that point by point many things in Marx's discussion are flawed. For example, he said that the revolution, the communist revolution, will initially start in the developed countries, and then it will spread to other parts of the world. But actually, in countries like England, America, Canada, we had no socialist revolution. It all happened in Latin American countries and Asian countries. So, see the prophecy and the failure. Then, another famous writer from India acclaimed in both Bengal and Orissa, Annoda Shankar Rai, he was discussing Gandhism in an essay. There he said that there is no essential difference between capitalism and communism in terms of the work performed. This is very important. This has not been highlighted by the European critics. Ananda Shankar says that both communist and capitalist countries do the same kind of things. Only in communism, it is done in the name of the state, whereas in the communist countries, individual ownership and all. But finally, what happens? You have a Lenin, Stalin, and the state is not a body which will come and do things. So, these are some of the very dangerous and subtle things of communism. We must be aware. Yes, we should take some of the good things, equality, speaking against exploitation of labor and all, but a strict no to imposition of some ideology that also dreamed by basically one person at one point of time, imposing that ideology by killing millions, subjugating individual freedom, etc. So, for all these things, actually, communism has died a natural death, but possibly it has not been for greater good of all, for certain reasons. That is, one oppositional force to capitalist forces should have remained, but at the same time we can retain intellectual some of the values, but then never support this kind of imposition of any totalitarian ideology. Anti-democratic, communism is essentially anti-democratic, essentially, you know, anti-nationalist in China and other part of the world. Also, they have, clashed with the nationalists there, anti-creativity, and of course, now coming to then the most important thing, anti-religion. Now, I am not going to the debate or argument whether God or religion is true or false, but the thing is that for majority of the people, especially in the underdeveloped or developing countries, it is still a major force. So you have to reckon with it and engage with it. If you want to bring real change in society. The problem with India communists, for example, was that they behaved as if religion did not exist. Whereas in Europe, you have all these people, even Foucault, Derrida, they have had some kind of Marxist engagements in them. Initially, they were Marxists, later they moved on. The thing is that they know their Bibles, they know their scriptures. But in India, the thing is that the Eurocentric Marxism, their leaders, they often do not have any idea of Indian tradition and culture, either scripturally or actually. So that point was highlighted it very badly before last election, when a lady said from West Bengal that she will vote for only the Marxist party because her she is a Vaishnavite by faith. Sorry, it was a Freudian slip maybe. So now, what is the link between Vaishnavism and communism? So that is the real problem. So I think these were the problems. Thank you.